Hey everybody, this is the Freakopolis Times, our podcast, mostly about stuff related to our comics and game shop, the Freakopolis Geekery. We're Ian, Tyler, and Troy, and we run the shop and host this podcast. Join us and some occasional guests as we talk comics, games, pop culture, and just about anything else that pops up. Remember, while some of our topics can get a little geeky, they change up often, so hang in there and maybe the next one will be more your style. By the way, this podcast is video enhanced on YouTube and Spotify. Check it out if you're feeling left out on the visuals. You never know what might show up. Now, let's do the show. So this week we're lucky enough to have TJ join us as we talk about media, because it's almost all media this week.
Yeah, there's been more than enough to talk about for sure. And this marks our first episode with a guest. What more appropriate guest than our own absent third brother?
I'm so honored to be back.
And it's actually our first running an episode down here at the Geekery in the middle of the store, too. So.
Yeah, we're recording it in the shop this week, mostly for the air conditioning.
Yeah, it is scorching. But it's probably actually hotter in California, where they are making all these awesome trailer releases and stuff. Because of San Diego Comic-Con and whatnot.
That's right. It's been going on this week. First time back in a couple of years, like since COVID. And I feel like it brought it, you know?
Yeah, totally. It's quite the event, for sure. And this time around, oh my god, Marvel had some crazy reveals up the wazoo. They had a million things lined up, it seems. And a bunch of other little surprises as well to talk about, too. So super pumped to dive into it this episode.
I think the first thing I saw was the D&D movie.
Yeah. The trailer for the D&D movie, Honor Among Thieves. I like that.
It's a couple minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
It shows us a lot of what we needed to see in order to say, yes, that's really a D&D movie. That's something that is going to hit the heart of the fans out there that love D&D, regardless of any small nuances that people will pick apart. And we can talk about that a little bit.
But even then, so much fan service packed into just a few minutes that it was like, oh, this is awesome. Like, I love this already.
So what, it seems like Chris Pine's well known as the new Captain Kirk.
As well as Steve Trevor.
Steve Trevor from Wonder Woman. He looks like he is a bard, right?
Yes.
That's the implication, yeah. He knows how to play the lute. He knows how to make plans. I think he's a good leading man. You know, he's had his chance at it a couple times with those movies you mentioned, but you know they were kind of mired in lots of controversy and stuff like acting as a new Captain Kirk. That's big shoes to fill. Yeah. And well, Wonder Woman had a great first movie. The follow up, 1984, was really bad. So to give him another chance, I think is appropriate. I really like him, and
yeah, he's fine. I mean, he was a victim of that movie, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, he's good. He's charming.
Mm-hmm. He's got the charisma, I think, and a bit of the name recognition that a movie like a D&D movie could definitely use to draw in some extra audience. You know. I don't know. Is anyone else on that main team particularly known for anything?
Michelle Rodriguez. Having been in the Fast and Furious movies,
I
guess she's a big D&D fan. She fell in love with the property, and she's playing the barbarian.
Right. I hope they're all big fans. One of the best things they could do is make sure that they show all the actors having fun in this movie, you know? Well, there's no reason why they shouldn't really embrace these roles and enjoy the fact that they get to be in a D&D movie.
Is there anything in the trailer that you saw that, like, got you the most, that was the most exciting thing? I'll be the first. I loved the Black Dragon attack. And the style of that acid breath was something I don't think we've really seen before, visualized that way. And it was incredible. And it was just like, oh man, that looks so nasty and volatile.
And well represented by the Monster Manual. It seemed like a 5-foot line attack instead of a cone attack. Very distinct for an acid dragon to have that type of breath weapon. And they made sure, or a black dragon, and they made sure to lean into that detail, which is a bit reassuring.
And the sound design.
Crazy.
So
Yeah.
awesome. It sounded so gloopy.
Yep.
I don't know where all that acid comes from, but it was super gloopy, and it's just an incredibly impressive attack. And you wouldn't want to have been the defenders in that
on that
game.
battlefield. Yeah.
No, plus they just instantly get a catapult shot to the back from their own artillery.
Yeah, they're just really falling apart.
Yeah. Black Dragons will do that to you. But as many people pick apart this trailer, I just see so much right with it that I can overlook anything, any little details, like an owlbear not being a beast, it's a monster.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, whatever.
Right, so you're referring to the fact that we see a druid transforming from an owlbear into a druid, basically, and that's not theoretically
not possible within
according to the rules.
According to the written rules.
Yeah, yeah.
But any good GM would say either, if it's the same CR that you're able to use, be
Feel
that
free.
owlbear.
Yeah. And owlbears don't have any special abilities. They just have a multi-attack like any other big beast. So they're completely within the realm of possibility as far as I'm concerned,
Yeah, we discussed that on our Discord a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of DMs would say, well, that'll work. That'll work for this campaign, and this campaign is this movie, right?
Not to get carried away with that, but the huge sweeping scenes, either the battles or the CGI, all looked great.
Yeah.
But my very favorite moment was probably when the bard was saying how he makes plans and stuff, and the druid with that high wisdom was like, you make plans that fail. That characterization there, those two people interacting.
Feels a lot like a D&D party talking to each other.
They nailed that.
Yeah, they kind of get the leeway of being able to be super goofy, because that's how D&D actually is. Like, I don't think anyone can really judge them on having these really cliche lines and whatnot, because it's high fantasy, and they're embracing that. And when people play D&D at the highest level, where you're doing some acting and improv and whatnot, you sound a lot like that, Those types of one-liners come naturally. I really like that. I thought it was appropriate. Yeah, the CG looked impressively sharp, for sure.
Yeah, and they included a scene with a mimic attacking a character. I kind of wish they hadn't included that scene.
It would have made a great surprise, yeah.
But it also, I can see where they made that choice for the purposes of the trailer, because, that's sort of one of the trademarks of D&D. They wanted to show, yep, we included the mimic. But unfortunately, once you're aware of that, I mean, every treasure chest is going to be suspect now when you see it in the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that first time that people play D&D and they encounter a mimic, it's such a huge moment. Yeah, I think it would have translated better if left to the audiences as well, instead of just an Easter egg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think was your favorite moment there, Teej?
Yeah, like you said, they got the tone right. They seem game accurate. I think there was a lot of locations that were really interesting. There was that battlefield. There's plenty of dungeons, which was really cool, and wizard towers and stuff. So the world at large seems true to the source and really interesting as well. It seems like there will be a lot of fun sets to play on and show off different powers and strengths of different party members and stuff. So I'm excited at the prospect of what the world at large looks like too.
No, totally. I think, there's one scene, it's maybe half a second or so, or a second or so, where they seem to cast Dimension Door, but the camera does a full, 180 twist and follows her.
She dives in through the door.
Yeah, she goes from, a field to the hull of a ship or something, but the transition is just awesome looking, really, really cool. So if they can pull off making the spells not only be recognizable spells, but also add that depth of flavor and extra effort into making them look super awesome, then all the more bonus points for sure. That was a super strong trailer, in my opinion.
It was a strong trailer. Everything that we saw looked really good. Normally at this stage of a trailer this early before a movie, you'll see some potentially unfinished CGI.
Mhm.
That wasn't notable in this trailer. Everything looked very finished. Everything looked high quality.
Yeah.
Like of a quality that we really haven't seen much of since maybe Lord of the Rings
For real.
and their show. So it does make you start to wonder, like, if you think about the amount of stories D&D has built up, the only thing you can compare it to is Marvel and what they've been able to do. I mean, you see that, and you see the quality level that they've put into the movie. And to me, I said, I could easily see there being 24 D&D movies.
Yeah.
If they're planning this smart, they could make D&D movies from now until the end of forever.
Mm-hmm. A whole intertwined universe, much like Marvel, with a bunch of cool characters and some recognizable ones that they can pull from their IP. And no reason they can't all cross over for one big, get-together movie where they fight Tiamat or Vecna or one of the big baddies of D&D, It feels very Marvel, but it also feels like when Marvel's at its best, at least this trailer does. And I feel like the subtext of it having the honor among thieves underneath the D&D logo itself kind of suggests that there's no reason why they couldn't have D&D, the Knights of Paladin or whatever coming up in no time,
Yeah, I have a feeling we're going to see the D&D logo on a lot of movies.
Mm-hmm.
If all goes well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, right, fingers crossed. I'm optimistic now, but D&D movies in the past have never quite landed.
No, I like the direction they're going with this one, though, and I'll definitely have to steal that maze arena that they have. That is an awesome setup.
Yeah, I mean, it's evident, even just from the trailer, it's evident that they've learned a lot from really successful movie franchises.
Yeah.
And they've approached it, building it that way from the onset. So, it very much looks to me like they recognize what they have for intellectual property. They realize that, the world that they've created is so big that it can support tons of movies, tons of cameos, tons of actor introductions, and if they find the right people and put them there, they could recreate that Marvel magic.
Yeah.
Like Marvel, they have a built-in fan base.
Right, that's, yeah.
D&D's been growing and growing consistently for years now with 5th edition, and I think role players are excited for this movie now, and that gets a not insignificant amount of butts in seats.
It does, yeah, of course. Like, naturally, I'm going to see it. Even if the trailer wasn't that great, I'd probably still want to go see it just because it's a new D&D movie, but since it was, it makes you all the more excited, for sure.
And I have to bring up the point that I was really glad to see that the Critical Role people aren't front and center on this project.
Yeah.
Because if they were, that would have been sort of, okay, it's going to be polarizing.
Mm-hmm.
Some people like Critical Role, some don't. Everybody, you can have a group that loves D&D, and some of them will like Critical Role and some won't.
Yeah, boom, you're losing some of your audience already. And those guys, they did the Kickstarter with Amazon, now animated series on Amazon. But it's not, it never was written off as the D&D campaign, really.
Yeah, yeah.
As much as people want it to be. It's its own flavor.
It is.
I'm glad, I agree, I'm glad to see it pushed aside for something maybe more traditional that everybody can kind of latch on to.
Much agreed.
I wouldn't mind seeing Matt Mercer as like a fruit stand merchant.
Yeah, a cameo or something would be excellent, for sure. Or if there was a party in the tavern that looked like the Mighty Nine or something, then everyone would be like, oh my god, that's awesome! But it doesn't need to be focal point at all. Like,
Yeah, I mean, that would indicate that Vox Machina
is D&D.
Yeah. That's too much.
Fantasy, however, is having a huge time with all these trailers. There's also 2 other big prevalent upcoming fantasy releases, including Amazon's Lord of the Rings series. That was not as strong a trailer.
No. Reactions are mixed, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
I think the world looks beautiful. The orcs look really solid.
Yeah.
The story is one that has been told before, right?
Not in this much depth. They're definitely grabbing bits of Tolkien lore to work off of, but they're filling in gaps with some completely original plot lines. And that is a dangerous thing to tap dance around, for sure.
Oh, we've talked about this on our Discord a bit as well. They have two major problems, I think, in making that successful. And the first of which is they're writing entirely new content that's supposed to fit into Middle-earth and Tolkien's world.
Mm-hmm.
And it's new. And there are people who are crazy historians about Tolkien's world.
Yeah, people get college credits studying this stuff.
So it's going to be so easy to screw that up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's going to be way, way easier to screw it up and almost impossible to get through cleanly.
Yeah.
So there's the first problem. And then the second one is going to be competing with Peter Jackson's movies.
Mm-hmm.
And the comparison to Peter Jackson's movies, that was lightning in a bottle. He did his wife did such an incredible screenplay.
Yeah.
He did such an incredible job at revering the content and ensuring that it delivered to the screen exactly as anyone would wish. And their actor and actress selection for every role was virtually impeccable.
Yeah.
And so everything else is going to be, compared to that. And that, that's a tough place to set asking to be compared to that, which is essentially what they're doing. I don't know how they can come out on top.
It's a really tough act to follow, for sure. Like a perfect ensemble. Every detail from the sets to the miniatures to the battles and the characters and
the writing. The writing is all straight from the books, and with the exception of a few notable skips or some slight details that have been brought up a million times in the past anyway.
Well, in general, right, they really omitted things in the movie, but they didn't add a whole lot.
When they did, it was like, okay, so in the extended editions, at one point, the Witch Queen shatters Gandalf's staff. That was added in. It never happens in the book. It would probably never actually happen in the Tolkien writing, But that's like the one thing, Otherwise, it is vastly so true to its source that there's nothing to complain about. And the lines and delivery are literally quotes from the book,
Yeah, what they did was mostly really great editing.
Mm-hmm.
They decided what needed to be in and what could go. But this isn't really about them. It's about the fact that this new series will be compared to them.
Yeah.
It can't not be. Let the comparisons begin, I guess.
I think it's more using Lord of the Rings to be compared to Game of Thrones. That's what it feels like to me, anyways, is that they're trying to compete with that. And I'm sure we'll talk more about the Game of Thrones trailer.
Oh, we will, yeah.
But I don't know, how well they'll hold up.
It's nice how they get a nice leg up on, like music selection is a lot easier now for them. The way that they represent things, they can look at the movies and recreate some of that. They're obviously trying to do some of their own stuff too. I don't know, anything that I saw that was stuff that they did on their own looked like it should have been called Amazon Fantasy Movie or Amazon Fantasy Series, and not necessarily attaching the Lord of the Rings to it. It'd probably be a fine fantasy series.
Yeah.
Questionable as a Lord of the Rings series.
I would be very excited from this trailer if it was just a generic fantasy thing, for sure. But since they attach the Lord of the Rings name to it, it makes for so much nitpicking. And maybe that's kind of their point, is to create some controversy. Obviously, it has huge swaths of the internet talking about picking it apart and the details that they like and what they don't like, and that seems to have worked very much so.
The things that they tied in to the property as we know it are really interesting decisions too, like Galadriel and Sauron and the rings in particular. Like, are those things you guys and audiences at large are interested in exploring more of?
Yeah, right.
I don't know. Galadriel was a moment in time.
She's
Sauron,
striking there, but yeah.
and Sauron's more interesting, I think.
In the Third Age.
Yeah, exactly. In the ring, that's at its most interesting there too. So, yeah, it's like playing second fiddle to a more interesting story
Right.
already.
Yeah, it's as though they've shot themselves on the foot in a pretty bad way, because in taking the Lord of the Rings IP and Tolkien's creation and trying to adapt it to their own, if they make anything that seems like generic fantasy, then it's immediately lesser than the most definitive fantasy that's ever been written, you know? And this trailer speaks to that immediately. I said as we watched it that these lines that they're these one-liners that they're giving out don't sound like anything Tolkien would have written.
No, they belong in the D&D movie.
Yeah. They would have been perfectly acceptable there, sure, but amidst the Tolkien universe, I don't see these people talking like that, you know? Stand with me! It's like, that's very generic. They could very well ring into some of that verbosity that Tolkien is so known for, and it would feel more natural.
Will we watch it?
Yes.
I probably won't.
No.
But, I mean, I might watch an episode, but I didn't see anything there that felt very compelling. Now, on the other hand, the Game of Thrones
House of the Dragon?
series that's coming out, I thought that actually looked pretty good, and like it fit into that world pretty well. And as much as we weren't thrilled with the last couple of seasons of Game of Thrones the last time around, they did have interesting sort of fantasy political intrigue. There was just enough dragons and swords to make it interesting, and this looks like sort of more of that, more fantasy political intrigue.
Yeah.
There's some more dragons, there's some more sword fights. And I don't know, I don't hold Game of Thrones to quite as high a pedestal as I do Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And the original author is still alive.
Yes, and he's actually partaking in the production.
Right, so he can put his X next to it and say, yeah, that's good enough to be considered Game of Thrones world story.
I think it definitely fairly impressed with it. The fights look fun. The locations are ones that we know but different.
CG excellent.
Yeah, lots of dragons, tons of them. That's a running theme, I guess. But it tried a lot of the same beats for me as like Daenerys' story in Game of Thrones.
Yes.
It's got this, I mean, in a different sense, kind of twisted, but this young Targaryen woman now wanting to take the throne. It's a little different of a situation because her family is in power as opposed to being exiled and massacred. But
the archetype seems very similar.
Yeah. And you even got a shot of like a dragon egg being revealed, which I don't know. I guess is it Easter eggs or is it just fan service to almost the exact same shot from the original season?
Yeah.
At the same time, I'm down for more.
I think they were saying, we're going to take another take at this.
Yeah, that's the case. Yeah.
We could probably use.
Yeah. I think that that trailer was definitely pretty well done in selling you back into Game of Thrones. And Game of Thrones, the A Song of Ice and Fire universe, is still one of the most searched IPs month by month. Even if people love to hate it, they still talk about it nonstop. And obviously, there is space for a new show or many new series. The fans are waiting for more, even if they are just going to take to the internet in hordes and make a million threads on what they didn't like about it,
On the plus side, maybe our shop will sell some of the Game of Thrones stuff that we couldn't move after they ruined the series.
Don't hedge your bets. I think what they did manage to pull off way better than the Lord of the Rings trailer is the costume design. The costume design in the House of the Dragon trailer was strikingly cool. I was like, yeah, that's some good Game of Thrones costume.
Yeah, you've got that Targaryen heir riding in on the horse, like in the arena or whatever.
Crazy spiked armor.
Yeah, he looked incredible.
In general,
Just like the knights fighting one another was amazing looking.
The noble robes and the way that they bundle all these different layers atop each other and all the color to it. It looks like the type of detail that Martin likes to put into his stories. You know?
Yeah, the whole character design was kind of, it was compelling and attractive, and the actors just looked good.
Yeah.
And the intrigue, obviously the politics and all of the sort of dialoguing was typical Game of Thrones. It fit right in perfectly.
As we watched it together, there came a line where I believe the leading Targaryen at the time says that when it comes to the Iron Throne, I will not be made to choose between my brother and my daughter. And we all looked to each other and we were like, yes, you will.
You're going to be forced into it.
Yeah.
And then later on he says, I've chosen an heir.
That was inevitable.
Right. Even in this own trailer, we see that you will be.
But yeah, the politicking is a super hallmark of Game of Thrones, and it always makes for fun, edge of your seat kind of entertainment. So that's been missed for sure from fantasy.
It also shows you the power of trailers, right? Because I don't know anybody that watched Game of Thrones that didn't come away with a bad taste in their mouth. And you kind of think, well, no one's going to want to see a new Game of Thrones series.
Yeah, right.
Including myself, right? And then you see the trailer and you go, that looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Conversely, the Lord of the Rings one, we just watched all the best movies probably ever made. And you come away and say, man, I wish there was more of that. And they come out with a trailer and you go, I'm not sure I'm not sure I want to sully my memory of the other stuff by this.
Yeah, it's strange. With the Lord of the Rings, it's as though you're going to have to draw a line between what you consider true Lord of the Rings and what you consider fantasy that is very much so inspired by Lord of the Rings.
Well, that we're going to get in the D&D movie.
Yeah, right. And House of the Dragon, actually, yeah.
Marvel and all of their amazing announcements at SDCC, everybody was waiting to find out what they were going to have to say, and they had a lot.
Yeah, they did.
They did. They returned to Hall H and laid out their plan for the rest of Phase 4, most of Phase 5, if not all of it, and little teases at what's coming at the end of Phase 6, which is their next big collaboration between all their properties to take on a Thanos-level threat.
Yeah, they are releasing 9 new pieces of media in 2023 alone?
Between Disney Plus series and movies, yeah, I believe that's the case.
Dang.
So remaining through Phase 4, the current thing we're looking at is an I Am Groot Season 1, a little Disney Plus animated television show featuring everyone's favorite talking tree. That's coming out.
Is that Vin Diesel? Do we know if he's actually voicing it, or
in all 187 languages?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised. He loves the character.
Yeah,
right?
So, and it's not a terribly huge commitment, I don't think.
It's real hard.
You get him in there for a couple hours.
Yeah. give me another dozen I Am Groot.
Yeah. She-Hulk coming out in just a couple weeks now on Disney Plus.
She-Hulk Attorney at Law, in fact.
That's right, yeah. Sort of a courtroom drama featuring one of Marvel's top ladies.
I suppose, yeah. Witty, I'm sure. She's always been known for humor in the comics.
Yeah, absolutely. She took on a really interesting role, through your time reading in particular, Dad.
Right.
And
for a while, she was stuck in the She-Hulk form, and just continued during her job as an attorney, which was interesting. So I don't know if we're going to see her delivering her closing arguments as a 7-foot-tall green Goliath.
It'd make for fun television, for sure. Yeah, I can see that, absolutely.
There's been a lot of rumblings about that one, some early criticism and whatnot, but I'm definitely willing to give it a chance. The big rumor I've heard, though, is that Ben Grimm, the Thing, will be appearing in She-Hulk to prime the Fantastic Four in the near future.
More on that later.
Yes.
Last I saw, it looked a little unfinished, but in the Marvel movies or shows on Disney Plus have been like middling to good.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll check it out for sure.
Then there's
Black Panther: Wakanda Forever.
Mm-hmm. Trailer for that looked pretty good.
Yeah.
Very vibrant, full of color.
They're bringing in Namor.
Right.
That's right, with a really cool flavor. He was kind of Aztec, like Central American looking culturally and in dress and stuff, which is a cool take to compare to, sort of this amalgamation of cultures from Africa too.
Right. Yeah. Drawing from some lesser known stuff, or seen at least in the cinematic universe. But Dad, were you ever a Namor fan?
No. No. I mean, I can't think of any ocean dwelling superhero that I ever found to be particularly interesting. Aquaman,
No.
Namor, any of those guys all kind of seem to be lame. But they made Namor like incredibly powerful on land. I mean, crazy powerful.
Yeah.
Like lift like a battleship or something.
Yeah, he's like Captain Marvel level strength, with little winged boots.
Yeah, he's got weird, weirdly little winged ankles.
Yeah, anklets. Yeah.
Yeah. He doesn't. They're just. I mean, which is strange for an underwater guy to begin with. I can't think of too many winged underwater creatures with feathers.
Yeah, he's kind of takes inspiration from like Greek mythology and gods and stuff. So maybe that's where that's coming from. And he definitely one of Marvel's earliest creations, and I think that shows in some of those weird touches. But went on to become really pivotal in Hickman's Secret Wars and stuff, as a member of the Illuminati. He took a really interesting place in the past few years in the comics. So that will come into play even more later on, I think.
I'm sure, yeah. Maybe it's his chance to be in the spotlight for sure and actually turn Namor into a respectable name. But I believe the technology shown in this trailer for the underwater scenes and stuff, which was strikingly impressive in the visuals, no doubt, is the same stuff that James Cameron is using for the upcoming Avatar movie.
Yeah, there was a lot of likeness and similarity between these two recent trailers in a certain respect. And in general, I think the rest of the trailer looks pretty fun. We've got a lot of respect paying and homage to Chadwick Boseman who passed. And now they're continuing on the series. And the big question at large is who's taking up the mantle of the Black Panther?
Yeah, who's the next Black Panther? It's a cool question to ask. And actually, I thought that trailer was pretty compelling. I'm looking forward to seeing that one. I'd catch it in theater if I get the chance, for sure.
Next up, we've got this year to end out the year, Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. It's a Disney Plus 40-minute special. Written and directed by James Gunn. And it's live action featuring the cast and crew that we know so well from the previous two movies.
That could be fun as hell.
Yeah.
I guess we'll have to find out what the soundtrack is.
That is a big question, yeah, absolutely. Star-Lord spent some more time on Earth now, so I wonder if he's discovered anything more to his
Christmas
liking.
spirit.
Yeah. And then we begin with Phase 5 in 2023.
So essentially, Black Panther closes out Phase 4.
Yeah.
I wonder if that means it'll be bigger than we know,
Maybe.
If it'll lead into...
I don't doubt Namor shows up again. This is his introduction. So that will play later on. Starting Phase 5 in 2023, we've got the What If Season 2 on Disney+.
Awesome.
The first season was really, really fun.
Yeah.
Explored some cool concepts and then kind of wove itself in together into a story that is going to continue to build throughout these next few phases.
The HeroClix set is also great.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I hope they make some more hero clicks out of this.
Yeah, the
That's a
Captain Carter you can get, fantastic. Yeah.
Recent release, yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, it's kicked butt. I think everyone in the community has enjoyed it, but partially that's because it's so recognizable. Because those episodes were great. What If Season 1 definitely was, I think, an excellent idea. And Dad kind of said that What If was always like when the editors were away.
Right.
A chance for just some goofiness or whatever, which sometimes comic collectors can appreciate, but generally were the ones that you kind of didn't care as much for. But in this case, I think they managed to sell it as its own kind of little slice of Marvel, yeah.
Then our first movie of 2023 follows What If is Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, the third entry into the Ant-Man series. Again, directed by Peyton Reed.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so he's helming it once again. And Ant-Man now in the quantum realm has played a large part in the success of Endgame and stuff like that. So we get to see out the end of that trilogy.
Interesting.
Then Secret Invasion with Nick Fury and the Skrulls. Good band name.
That is a good band name. So far they've portrayed the Skrulls as kind of benevolent. Mm-hmm. You get the feeling that's not going to last.
Seems likely indeed.
Yeah. The Skrulls aren't generally super friendly.
No.
Anything with Nick Fury is always cool in my book, though.
Yeah, more Samuel L. Jackson
Yeah.
in like space and stuff.
Right.
It should
That's a
be
different
fun.
story.
Yeah.
Then we get into really the thick of Phase 5, as it were. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. We got casting for Adam Warlock now.
Right.
That looks pretty
That's
promising.
been so long coming.
Echo as a Disney Plus show, following her appearance in the Hawkeye series on Disney Plus. Loki Season 2, which introduced Kang. Well, this first season introduced Kang, who is now going to be playing a large part in these successive phases.
I like how Season 1 of Loki ended rather abruptly, honestly. It essentially said that they stumbled on something big and find out what that means later.
No, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, that's a movie.
Yeah.
But Loki is a streaming series.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Uh,
They seem to go back and forth a bit,
Yep.
which is cool.
They're
Yeah,
filling
yeah.
it all in
Yeah.
and keeping them all connected at the same time. That's cool.
Following that is the Marvels. It's a movie featuring Carol Danvers and Kamala Khan,
Mhm.
as well as maybe
what's her name?
from WandaVision.
And from New Doctor Strange.
Yes.
Yeah. No. The other Captain Marvel.
Yes.
Can't remember her.
The new First Mutant?
No,
Oh.
no. Kamala Khan and Carol Danvers for sure. But then there is a third who uses the hammer. Can't recall her name.
We'll find out in 2025.
Yes.
And then another one. Next up is an interesting one. X-Men 97, Season 1. A callback to their 1990s cartoon.
Man, they still love that X-Men theme. They cannot let that thing go.
Well, I mean, previously X-Men has been all produced by Sony, right?
Yeah.
Is
That's
this
a good point.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a Marvel one. So they're trying to take it back, and so that's probably why they're jumping sort of back in time.
True enough. I think X-Men is the best springboard Marvel has to introduce brand new characters. It's always acceptable for them to have a class of mutants we've never seen before. Otherwise, pulling from outside of the realm of the comic books always seems like a questionable decision.
Then we get, we're jumping forward now to the 2000s a bit, and with a Blade movie.
Yeah, Blade's back.
Yep. I'm sure that will be dark. An Ironheart Disney Plus show. We saw a little bit of her teased in the new Wakanda Forever trailer, so she'll probably be introduced there, then get her own little TV show. And Agatha, Coven of Chaos, after her appearance in WandaVision.
Mhm.
Not super pumped for that. Like I thought the character was kind of fun, but I don't know that I need any more.
Yeah, they're gonna have to do. I mean, maybe there's just they have another idea.
Yeah. Who knows? Continuing Phase 5 in 2024, Daredevil Born Again, a Disney Plus show.
With Charlie Cox returning as Daredevil, yeah.
That's right. Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk.
Whole 18 episodes, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy because the original 3-season run on Netflix was like maybe 24
Right.
episodes.
Yeah, they were short seasons.
Yeah.
Like eight shows a season or something.
They have some large plot ready. I mean, if you consider that, that's more Daredevil time than Spider-Man over the whole MCU, you know?
Exactly.
Like,
Very true.
Well, Charlie Cox was. I mean, I have to admit, he was a really good Daredevil.
He is.
I really enjoyed him, and D'Onofrio was awesome. He breathed life into Wilson Fisk like we didn't know would be coming.
yeah, give him the right writer and stuff, and he really kicks ass, for
Yeah,
sure.
breathes a real silent rage into the character, and he's just such a presence on the screen. I'm glad
Yeah.
to see these guys back. I'm glad they get another chance. Captain America: New World Order.
Aha. I read in some forums that people were like, oh man, Zemo's gotta be back. It's like, that would be like, what? Zemo has to be involved in every Captain America movie? Like,
Well, it's him or Red Skull, pretty much.
yeah,
right?
I suppose so.
Like-
Or maybe Doom?
Or maybe the Serpent Society.
Yeah.
But this is kind of building up into, I'm sure this will play a part in the following movie, Thunderbolts, as well. It's rumored Baron Zemo will be in that, as well as maybe Taskmaster and the Red Hulk, and potentially the Punisher and Blade.
Oh, wow. That
yeah.
could be fun.
Lots of cool bad guys, anti-heroes that they can bring into that. Marvel Zombies, animated Disney Plus show, spinning off from the What If episode, potentially.
Yeah, one of our good customers said, I don't know if I need any more zombies, but admittedly, they do have a lot of zombies content written in the comics that they can pull from pretty easily.
From the
so.
King of Zombie Comics.
Yeah, pretty
Robert
much.
Kirkman.
Yeah. True enough.
Spider-Man freshman year, following that, an animated Disney Plus show, presumably not following the Peter Parker that we know.
Yeah.
Although he will be a freshman if they continue his,
True.
aging. Freshman in college.
Good luck, Tom Holland, for pulling off freshman in college.
Yeah.
Somehow he maintains that boyish figure.
I guess, but he's been making a bunch of other movies now, and I think they might be maturing him.
Yeah.
Sure, that's his agent's dream for sure.
Yeah.
And then we get into Phase 6, which little is known about save for these 3 movies. Lots of dates set aside, but nothing quite announced yet, except for the first appearance of the Fantastic Four, officially in their own movie.
Which we have literally just about every podcast episode at some point or another said, can't wait for that Fantastic Four movie.
Yeah, it could be done really well. I kind of hope they take a more modern take to it, I think. Or, I don't know. It could go either way. You could do a really cool retro story like they've done with Ant-Man and stuff in the
Embracing
past,
the
or
60s
Carol
feel,
Danvers,
yeah.
That could be a cool new angle for them to take. But if you do it really modern, you keep that, question of where have they been the whole time off the table.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's going to be interesting. It'll be interesting to see if they tackle that sort of original episode over and over again. They keep trying to show the
the origin story.
how the FF got their powers.
I don't think they have to do that.
They can delegate that to flashbacks.
They keep showing how they knew Victor Von Doom before he was an armored menace. you know, and they keep failing. So, I mean, that can't be missed by people like Kevin Feige.
Yeah,
like he knows it hasn't worked in the past, so they're gonna try it again.
Yeah, and casting remains in question. We saw John Krasinski as Dr. Reed Richards in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, but there's no guarantee, seeing as this was a multiversal version of him, that he will continue to play the role. I think it could totally work, but there's a lot of other great actors out there too.
I think it'd be fun if it was him, though.
Yeah. I'm in for it. I would not complain.
Yeah, I would go for that. But I'm an Office fan, so.
Right. Then following that, a bunch of unknown Disney Plus projects and movie. And then our next Avengers movie coming out May 2nd. This timeline's really interesting. May 2nd, 2025. Avengers: The Kang Dynasty.
Mm-hmm. So maybe Loki will be a much bigger impact than we could have ever expected. Yeah.
Yeah, he was introduced at the end of Loki season 1, at least one version of him. And they're really leaning into this multiverse. You know, you can see that this is where lots of new stuff is being introduced in sort of the next Infinity Gauntlet, as it were. And Kang's back. I thought his rendition in that last episode was really fun. The actor had a lot of gravitas.
Mm-hmm.
And despite all the exposition, a pretty compelling story. So we'll see. He's a storied Avengers villain.
Yeah. He's a world threatener for sure, if worse.
I mean, I think, though, Marvel has to be careful about some of that stuff, because once you start having all this multiverse stuff go on, and Kang, of course, implies time travel galore, right? They're gonna set themselves up for this situation of, can I trust what I'm seeing is actually what is gonna stick as being the story that, you know, it continues on, or are they going to backpedal constantly because they've got the capability to do that, because they've got multiverses and time travel and all of that. So, they didn't get wiped out, they didn't all get killed, or you know, whatever. You know, Thanos, whatever happened with him, that changed. You know, they didn't use the Infinity Gauntlet because, like, they could just keep rewriting the story. And it gives you it makes it very slippery and hard to hang on to.
Yeah, it's a dangerous water that they're treading into. I don't know if it's as compelling as the Infinity Saga and the Infinity Gauntlet. I think that had real stakes to it, and yeah, you kind of lose some of the stakes when you open the world up to any possibility.
Yeah.
Yeah. That darn Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Spoiled it.
But that's not the only Avengers coming that year.
Exactly. So as I mentioned, the timeline here is really interesting, because just 6 months later, November 7th, 2025, Avengers: Secret Wars will debut.
Secret Wars is a legendary comic book run, so you gotta wonder how they'll be piecing that together.
Yeah, I mean, and it's interesting that it's not Marvel's Secret Wars, it's Avengers Secret Wars.
Yeah.
Which, you know, historically, it wasn't exclusively an Avengers thing.
Oh.
So I guess we'll see how they're going to treat that.
Yeah, it does give them an opportunity to rein things back in, though, in Hickman's Secret Wars, not the original. But later on, that was Marvel Comics' way of combining all their universes into one, you know, final line that they could now, you know, take new stories from, which is continuing through today. So, you know, that multiverse problem might be solved a bit inside of this. And it brings opportunity to, like, officially, I mean, the rumor is that it will bring in the X-Men and, you know, sort of conjoin everything together.
Well, that'd be exciting for sure.
Yeah, it remains to be seen. Obviously, not much known about it yet, but the title alone is enough to titillate Marvel true believers. And that's the bulk of what's coming.
That's what we know.
Sure.
from Marvel. Yeah.
enough for more than one podcast, for sure.
Yeah. Well, we'll be talking about those for the next couple of years.
No doubt, yeah.
But very, very interesting. I'm glad that they've got such an expansive plan. I'm glad that they're, they're rolling in now characters that they've gotten back from Fox.
Mm-hmm. I think it comes just in time, right on the cusp of Thor: Love and Thunder, where the number one criticism seems to be, it doesn't feel like the MCU has direction anymore. They were like, oh yeah? Look at all this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it would be reasonable to try to chain them all directly together. They almost needed some stuff that was set to the side.
Mm-hmm.
So that they could do these little things, little stories, very typical to comic books that go on.
Yeah.
And it gives the viewer and the reader a bit of a break and a respite to step back and look at it, and then dive back into this next sort of series of chained things, and where they have overlapping stories and shared characters and all of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's not the extent of stuff happening at SDCC, is it?
No, there's other SDCC news and some interesting things. Some things that I saw, and maybe you guys had some as well.
Hit me.
All right, well, we'll start off with the fact that, so Hall H at SDCC is known as, that's the big hall. That's where the biggest
reveals.
Yeah, the largest reveals. It seats the most people. It's the big events that take place there. This year, history was made in Hall H. A first-time comic series had a event in Hall H.
Wow.
Guess which one?
8 billion genies.
No, but that is a good guess.
The Walking Dead?
No.
Invincible.
Yeah.
No, but that's a good one too.
Deadly Class. I don't know.
No. Well, I mean, it's been out for a while. It's a series that's been out for a little while. Very popular multimedia personality
The
involved.
Boys.
Todd McFarlane.
Good guesses. Berserker.
Berserker.
What?
Ah.
Keanu Reeves headed up a Hall H event.
Oh, wow.
Berserker continuing on with the series going on, getting a anime series on Netflix.
I don't know if Berserker has a bigger fan than
Getting-
Keanu Reeves.
Getting a movie.
Wow.
Getting, I believe, a hardcover novel. So basically, across medias, Berserker is still coming on strong.
Wow.
It is nowhere near over. In fact, it's just beginning. So that story of sort of I don't know, he's kind of like a demigod, right? He's sort of half god, half human.
Tortured soul.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're doing every possible type of media with that series. He was very much welcomed into Hall H.
I'm sure, yeah.
People love the guy. They love what he had to say.
That's cool. I wouldn't have anticipated that being a focus of his for presentation, but it is one of his favorite projects, I suppose.
Yeah, I forgot how big the deal was when he announced that he was involved with this project with Matt Kent, and I believe. And
Matt Kent,
when it finally came out, we sold a lot of copies
Yeah.
of it.
Oh, yeah.
Got a lot of cool covers, and the wheels kept turning, I guess. And the comics kept coming, and now we're going to be presented with a lot of it, which is cool. It's a really fun, kinetic comic.
I think still on a monthly basis.
It's one of our highest
Berserker
orders, yeah.
is probably the one that we have the most pre-orders for. The most people pull listing it.
People love the Reeves, man.
Yeah, as I say, slap Keanu Reeves' face on something and have it be about him killing things. People will watch it, which kind of ties in with the John Wick 4 trailer that was just released.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a glimpse at that. Treading a lot of the same beats, but seems fun.
Exactly.
Like, I'll see it.
But yeah, your immediate reaction was those scenes parallel pretty much the past 3 movies entirely.
Yeah.
There's the dog, there's the
Nightclub, there's the sword fight. Like,
Yeah.
it's like all stuff we've seen before.
the
But
martial arts in a room full of mirrors.
Yeah. Down to see it again.
Yeah.
It's probably that they just had other cameras at different locations.
Yeah, it seems like.
It's the same fight scene, just filmed from different angles.
Hey, it's a winning formula for sure. You know, John Wick is just fun.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I love that series. I'll watch another John Wick movie.
Yeah.
Sure.
You know.
They don't have to be too complicated.
But yeah, and that's why, Berserker. It's great that it has Canoe as a front man.
Mhm.
He's a big reason why it's as successful as it is. And awesome that it made history that way. It's awesome that a indie comic can pull like that to Hall H
Absolutely.
at SDCC.
Yeah.
Very cool. Any other SDCC? I know that a lot of Star Trek stuff going on. I think there's at least 3 series running right now.
Yeah.
And they're adding like at least 2 more. There's going to be
Wow.
at least 5 simultaneous running Star Trek series.
Yeah, there's no slowing of that ship at the moment. It's actually, I think, found its footing in a sense with Strange New Worlds. People are really enjoying that show. Lower Decks, the animated series, I thought the first season was really funny and really fun.
Yeah.
So they're gaining some traction. They're winning the fans back.
Not an easy fan base to appease, I'm afraid. Not quite as difficult as the Lord of the Rings fan base. But definitely, they look for a certain tone that they don't want betrayed. And while they do accept more additional entries and new entries into the IP more readily, at the same time, they seem to scrutinize episode by episode pretty hardcore.
And Picard is still running.
It is, yeah.
And then, they announced a couple more series that they're going to be doing. So I don't believe there's any movies, though. I think it's all Paramount Plus kind of stuff.
They should do Deep Space 12 or something.
Star Trek was always best in television.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
so
True, that's where it's known.
Yeah.
It sort of fits those hour-long episodes
Mhm.
really well. It was more difficult when they lengthened it out to movie length, 90 minutes or 2 hours.
Yeah, and that made them lean so much more towards the action end of things, when really Star Trek was always a philosophical dialogue kind of show, and that's when it's at its strongest too. So
Big news for Avatar: The Last Airbender fans. Beloved cartoon. That's getting more content, including some movies upcoming, but the big one was including the first Avatar Studios movie coming to theaters in 2024 will no longer be about Kyoshi, but rather about Aang and the gang as adults. So you get to see them sort of, we've seen them as kids, super old, and now we'll get some of that middle filled in. So that's going to be exciting. That's a great property.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, that sounds really good.
is that not a time of unparalleled peace in their world?
Pretty much, yeah. So,
It's like,
Lazing
you have
around.
to dig deep, yeah.
yeah, they solved all the problems when they were 12 years old. I don't know what conflict is left to cover. No. There is a lot of space there that they could write in some cool stories for sure. And yeah, Avatar and Aang and his crew are great characters. I see no reason why that couldn't be really, really fun.
Yeah, it deserves more screen time.
Mm-hmm. All in all, though, a lot of fan bases are going to be pretty pleased, I think.
Yeah, it feels like after a few years of movies made, with 2 people in a remote cabin or whatever, we're kind of finally back to large properties.
Ensemble cast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like pop culture's kind of back in a sense.
Mhm.
And that's exciting.
It is. And I do like that there seems to be a strong fantasy lean to the future.
Yeah, we're coming out of this weird times with fantasy.
Yeah, it was in the recent past. We kind of had some strange, like, Hunger Games style genre stuff, and before that it was zombies, and before that it was something else.
Not to mention superheroes.
Yeah, and superheroes have been huge for a while now. Fantasy never goes away, but it does kind of wane and wax. And at the moment, it feels like there's a bunch of awesome productions upcoming, so that's an exciting time for sure.
We talk about The Boys frequently on this show.
Yeah.
I mean, it comes up quite a bit. It's a great series. It's a great comic. But we've been discussing this past week or so on our Discord the fact that a little known backstory piece that we didn't know about Homelander, the sort of main
Antagonist, yeah.
superhero antagonist.
Yeah.
No spoilers on that, but he's not a great guy. Most people know he's not a great guy. But we found out some of his history. Now, our comic shop is in Whitehall, New York.
Mm-hmm. Washington County.
Washington County. It's a rural area in upstate New York.
I believe the town has about 3,000 people.
Yeah,
almost. Almost,
And,
nearly.
yeah.
That includes the farm space around the town.
Yeah, we don't often see most of them. I mean, as far as we can tell, it's about 300 people.
It's a tiny space. Yeah.
But the backstory, which surprised us all, and we kind of found out from watching the series The Boys Presents Diabolical, which is an animated series that is in the world of The Boys.
Some shorts, yeah.
Yeah, that kind of delves into some different details of the show. We found out that Homelander is presumably from this small town.
Yes.
This town, Whitehall, New York, is where at least his backstory originates from. He's actually grown in a lab, but he was fed a backstory by Vought, the company that grew him.
Yeah, he was told an all-American upbringing to present to the public, essentially, which involved him playing baseball with his dad out on the farm in Whitehall, Washington County.
It's so crazy. You don't find Whitehall coming up in media ever, unless maybe you're watching like a Bigfoot hunting show or something.
We have seen Comstock.
Yeah.
Prison not too far from us.
In the live action series, there were hints at it. There were various things that were said, or things that were in the shot,
Yeah.
which implied this upstate New York background. It even implied Washington County, Whitehall. But in the animated series, they come right out and say Whitehall multiple times. They also talk about our nearby amusement park, The Great Escape, and some of the rides there. So weirdly, this is the birthplace of Homelander.
Yes. We are also noted as like one of 3 birthplaces of the United States Navy back during the Revolution, but I think this supersedes.
Yeah.
It's home of the Homelander.
Yes. Home of the Homelander.
I'm not sure how that helps our comic shop.
Oh, God.
If anybody has any good ideas on how to make that help our comic shop, please get in touch or leave us a comment and let us know. I can tell you we do have copies of The Boys in stock.
Yes. That is an uncanny coincidence.
Straight from the source.
We should get a big mural of him right on the side of our building.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's a polarizing proposition.
You're right. And that about does it for this one. If you liked hanging with us, please subscribe through your favorite podcast directory. Join our Discord and check out our shop, the Freakopolis Geekery. See you next time.